This video is designed to help you understand what you're supposed to do with the topic proposal assignment. Before I get to that assignment, I want you to think back to what we've been doing all semester. Don't forget the previous assignments. Writing a social and rhetorical activity. You're going to be writing to an audience with a purpose and a larger exigency, something you're responding to. You have personal biases. Take those into account and don't let those overwhelm you as you're writing. You have to have a paper that relies on evidence, not just your feelings. The ethics of that. You want to represent ideas ethically and appropriately. You don't want to put words in writers' mouths. You want to just show them what they are, and then you bounce your ideas off of theirs. So that's where we are now. A shared understanding of what we're doing here. If we go down to the assignment, the topic proposal, you have a narrow topic. You have a target audience in mind. If you go to the assignment, there's a rubric that runs you through what the points or how the points will be distributed for the assignment. So you can look at that, but the assignment sheet is right here. You click on this, and you'll see you have to find 4 articles. For the 4 articles, I want you to find good articles. They don't have to be the best articles ever. They just want to give you background information on the topic, show you a wide range of perspectives so you can understand what people are saying. And this is just so you can get an understanding of the conversation on your topic. If you're in a conversation with people verbally, you walk into a room, 20 people are talking, you don't just start talking. You take the time to listen, otherwise you're considered rude. The same thing should apply to writing. You want to take some time to do the reading, because reading is the equivalent of listening, and then you jump in and take your position after you have an understanding of what the conversation looks like. So you don't want just articles that are going to support the position you already have. You have to be flexible here. We're still going to adjust and adapt to the situation that we're getting into based on what we find. So don't lock yourself into a topic or a position on that topic just yet. You might find that later on you still fall back on what your initial position was, but be open to adapting a bit. After you find those 4 articles, you're going to summarize them. Then a brief overview of the conversation that kind of looks at the main points you see being consistently hit upon within those 4 articles, because that is probably the meat of the conversation. The most important ideas will be repeated most often. So a few things with each of these phases that I'll talk about. First, finding good articles. Let's say my topic is physician-assisted suicide. I can just go to Google and find sources, but I don't know if they're going to be the best sources. So I might want to do an advanced search just to make sure I get this right. So I go to Settings, Advanced Search. Down here in the site or domain, I'll put in EDU, because then I know they're from educational institutions. And there's a lot of different topics there. They're probably going to be more consistently good than just a random regular Google search, because they are vetted and they're written by academics, and there's usually going to be research included in them, which you can kind of use to link out to other sources. The beauty of finding an article like this is if it already has resources embedded within it, then you just jump to those resources and you're in that conversation, and it's going to help you out. So as you're searching, consider doing this. A general Google search will be fine, but just make sure the articles you find are credible. So that's going to be the finding articles. You just need 4 of them. The next part is writing a summary. A summary is pretty easy. All you're doing is taking the original author's ideas and condensing that down to about 200 words. There's some standard summary components. You're going to want to have the author's name. You want to have the title of the article. You want to have all the basic information I'm asking you to have here, but it's going to also be in the actual summary of the article. There's only one other thing that you should consider with summaries, and that's the use of signal phrases. And signal phrases are just a term that's used to say that as you're writing your summary, you want to let your readers know these are the original author's ideas and not yours. Because if you're writing a summary, it's easy just to throw the ideas down, and people can't really tell. Is that the writer of the summary saying that? The writer of the original article saying that? It's a little bit unclear. So the signal phrases will help you keep your readers in line and show them that these are the original author's ideas. It might be the writer writes, the writer claims, the writer comments, the writer speculates, agrees, points out, emphasizes, whatever tag you want to put on that statement by the author. That's what you put in as a signal phrase. So that might be complicated to understand in isolation. I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. And the next part's just going to be an overview of the conversation. After you summarize all 4 articles, you look for the most common threads between all 4, whether they're points they agree upon, points they're disagreeing about, common examples they bring up, laws they reference, events they reference, whatever they may be. You want to take note of those because they are the central parts of the conversation you're entering into. So what does this all look like in practice? Here we go. We got 4 articles. Title, date, URL. No author for this one. That's okay. Sometimes this isn't an author. We'll talk more about the credibility issues with that later on down the road, but sometimes things are team written and they won't have a single author. All of these have all the information. You'll see they're all pretty recent. With an issue like assisted suicide, you don't want something from 1992 because the topic is advanced from there. Most of the topics you're writing about are kind of time sensitive. They don't have to be 2018, 2019, but you want it to last like 5 years or so if you want a true understanding of what's going on now. Each one has a summary. I highlighted the signal phrase in yellow. So we got stuff here, shows what the article is, goes into the signal. The first part is this. The article states this. It also touches on this. The author discusses this. According to the authors, here's another point. So all the way through, the reader of this summary would know these aren't my ideas, the summary writer. These are the original author's ideas. I'm not distorting them. It's an ethical representation of their ideas. Same way through each of these. She explains. She discusses. She had another patient. At the end of the article, she expresses. I didn't highlight them in the third one, but they're here in the third one and the fourth one too. So you're just going to have those 4 summaries that outline the basic main points of each article. Then the overview. What are the main points? For this one, Hippocratic Oath, strict guidelines, lack of national standards. Specific cases to discuss. 2 in the last 4 years repeatedly come up. This idea that public opinion is swaying, public opinion matters. So those are the 5 ideas that are reoccurring here. If you read more articles, you'd see more. So this is just a small part of the conversation. Again, think about if you're in a room with people. You don't just talk to all 20 people. You go into a smaller corner of the conversation. You engage there. You get a sense for the big points. But if you went back into the larger group, a lot of these ideas would probably still be relevant with that larger group also. So just because you don't see the ideas that you were interested in the 4 articles you read, doesn't mean they're not relevant. It might just mean that it's another part of the conversation you haven't quite tapped into yet. We're going to do another round of research later. For now, this is just giving you that in into the conversation. After that, you take your position. You write it out in 1 or 2 sentences, and that's the whole assignment. If you do that, you will fulfill what I'm asking you to do here. You have your 4 articles that are credible. You summarize each of the 4 articles. You have the signal phrases. You have an overview of the conversation. You don't have to highlight them here, but it might help you to highlight them to make sure you're actually tapping on these things and not putting your own ideas in. And last but not least, your own position. If you have all that, then you really are getting a foothold in here and seeing if it's a possible topic for you to write about. I've tried to steer you towards things that are easier to write about or possible to write about. So I don't think it should be too difficult for you to find 4 articles, run yourself through this process, and put together a solid topic proposal.